Welcome back, viewer, to Chungu cha Jamii. Today we are talking about solutions on drug and substance abuse. You're in this place, in this hall, and you're wondering how you can come out of this, how you can help your brother, your sister, your neighbor. Send in your question, your concern across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So before we went on a break, I had asked this question. You've mentioned that the both of you are agreeing that a lot of people who are doing drug and substance abuse are well-educated people, and there are people who can be able to. Very few people are from the people who are from the vulnerable community and affected by all this. And they struggle with buying all this. But the learned people, the doctors, the people who are degrees holders, masters holders, are the people who are able to buy the best. If it is alcohol, the expensive one. If it is the substance, the most high stimulant, name it. They are able to buy it and able to abuse it and use it properly. Now my question comes in. If I know this one is going to get me to the grave, why am I using it in the first place? And yet, if I'm a doctor and you come in as a patient, I'll tell you it is wrong. And yet, I'm the same person who is treating you and I'm smelling liquor. If it is a policeman, he's arresting me because of drunk and disorderly manner or drunk and over driving. Yet him that he is arresting me is also high. If both of us has to take the alcohol blow, he ends up being higher than I am. And yet is the same person who is going to use the law against me, seems because I'm driving drunk. Why are we going wrong? And why are we preaching water and taking wine? And the wine at the high concentrated wine at the same time. Madam Catherine.
Thank you, Eunice. A very valid question. Allow me to start by saying, these are diseases. And I'm talking about disease because it cut. I know some years back, I met a doctor. Mm-hmm. He was my personal doctor. Mm-hmm. And I could realize the struggle in their life. Mm-hmm. When I go for consultation. At times, not even able to hold the pain because of withdrawals. It's unfortunate he rested years back. What am I trying to say? It's a disease which cuts across board. And what it does, the minute one gets used to the drug of choice, it alters the way the system operates. And in that alteration, what happens? The brain gets used to addiction is a brain disease, which is chronic and relapsing. And what tends to happen is that when the brain is denied this drug of choice, the normal functions are affected. And that's where we find our brothers and sisters who are already in need, not able to handle their lives when they stop using. And this is where now there is intervention by the professionals to take care of the withdrawals, because some of them are very severe that in case there is no intervention, we lose lives. And this is something I like telling families. When we talk of addiction being a disease, families are like, what disease? Hii ni ugonjwa ya kujitakia, nani alimpeleka? Sure. And they are justified to argue their case. However, it's good to ask yourself the same question Eunice, you brought her across. How come this person is educated? They even have the knowledge, yet they are finding themselves there. Ama tunamuokota kwa mtaro. Sure. You know, and it happens even to the very learned. And this is what makes, even scientifically it has been proven, this is a disease which needs care, treatment, and management, like the other diseases we have. Because treating the brain and bringing it back to the old system of it was not used to is a process. And this is where now we find people going through what we call medically assisted detoxification for them to be helped to withdraw from the effects of the drug in a safer and healthy way. Then when people are taken to rehabilitation homes, this is where I like also the clients and the families to understand. It's not about you being, put there to be like shamed that you are not able to handle. No, it's about being removed from the environment where somebody easily accesses drugs to an environment where you are not accessing the drug of choice, as your brain is being helped to go back to that state of not using. Because this is behavioral. Somebody has been used to the culture. The brain got used to it. It got caught up that without the drug, it cannot function. And I believe you have heard or you have seen those who, they wake up in the morning, and if they don't have the drug itself, the next thing, they cannot even take a cup and take tea. So if that is not managed, that person finds relief when they go use the same drug and their system stabilizes. So what happens? We need to treat addiction as a disease, not stigmatize this person as one who is not able to handle their situation. Yes.
Coming to you, Mr. Benjamin, allow me to put you on a spotlight as a preacher now. When you're having people that you're counseling that are struggling with alcohol and substance abuse, in the church, that is where we run to find refuge. But again, that is where we find a lot of rebuke, whereby if I come in the morning for a Sunday service and I'm drunk, I'm sent away from the gates by the gate man. If you find me on the road, you'll preach to me and tell me, come as you are, you're going to get delivered. But yet when I come to you and I'm drunk, you do not understand, or you tend to rebuke me, yet you as a preacher, maybe previously, before you got delivered, you're struggling with the same. Why is it that if you are delivered and you're out of it, you do not understand me as a drunk and as someone who is in that state of wanting to be delivered as well? You do not take me slow, but rather you're so harsh on me.
I want us to talk about something which is very key. Number one, as I said, if, let's say for example, I have malaria. The main disease is malaria, but there are symptoms that come with that disease, isn't it? You find that I have fever, headache, and my joints are aching, and some things that are not common, and that are making the body not to function well. But if I may ask you, isn't headache a disease? It is. Isn't vomiting a disease? This is not the normal function of the body. That's why it is a disease by itself. But now the main disease that is the cause of all these things is the malaria virus that is in me, or the bacteria. But now, most of the people, you can imagine a person has malaria and then they are treating headache because it's one of the symptoms of malaria. Then will they get healed? Not really. So the problem, and the key problem, is in the heart. Why? From the basis of everything, we have that seed of sin in us. And because God is the one who created us. God is the one who has to streamline our lives, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people misunderstand, and it's not every church is a church. This is one thing that we have to understand. It's not every church. You see a building and then it's church. That's not a church because it's written church. Because if we were to talk about church, we should talk about church as the body of Christ. Then, did Jesus do drugs? Did Jesus smoke bang? So
Let me interrupt you as you continue to answer that.
Yes.
In the Bible, I'm not good at quoting scriptures, but you'll hear people say that marijuana is a blessed leaf that is quoted in the Bible. And you'll hear people justifying that I think in Timothy they say a little wine is good for your stomach. You'll also hear them saying that Jesus changed water into wine as the first miracle. So to them it's justifiable. The only thing that is not mentioned there, it's, I think, what do you call it, cigarette? But once you turn marijuana into it and do it them sokoto things and you smoke it because they'll say it's a blessed weed and also scientifically proven, as you're here as also a psychologist, you can also tell us if it's scientifically proven. I've done research on it and they say it's also medicine. For marijuana, I'm talking about it. That it's a cure for those who are going under chemotherapy and they are having cancer. It is one way. If the medications that you are doing after you've gone for the chemotherapy and the medicine are having or the reactions are having at all on you, you can smoke weed and be much better.
Great.
So.
Great. Eunice, there is something that we have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's true. People will speak about this and that and that and that. Mm. Whether it's a drug, whether it's life that you're living, as we spoke from the beginning that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Let's talk about this. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life, isn't it? What do people follow? People always follow what is coming from within them. Number one, there should never be anyone to lie to you and say, they brought it to me, that's why I am who I am. It always starts from themselves. It is originating from them, and then the environment became conducive for them to do it. So one of the things that we need to understand, I'm always speaking about this wise man. There is a book that everybody does not want to speak about it, because even from the pronunciation itself, a book called Ecclesiastes. That book has much content of the wise man. And then what did he say? He spoke one time and then he said there is something which is common in the chapter 9, number 9 and verse 2 and 3. He spoke about one thing and then he was saying there is a common thing among people. Whether they are going to church, they are righteous or unrighteous, holy or not holy, good or bad, they give sacrifice or they don't give sacrifice. There is one common thing about them, that in their hearts, and now we are not talking about the organ that is pumping our blood. We are talking about that heart which controls you. He said the only thing that is hidden there are two things. One, evil. Two, madness. As long as they live and later they go to the dead, which means from birth to death, every man is a mad person. But the only thing that they do, we now come to the functions of the heart. The function of the heart, number two, reasoning, it is suppressed down by the kind of education that you get. And then from that point, you can behave. The kind of nurturing that you get will make you now to suppress what? That nature of your heart, which is evil and mad. In other words, in Kiswahili, wazimu muovu. a person that you cannot even predict what they will do in the next minute. That is human being. And that's why, because of that, that is their origin. That's why they need a replacement. And that replacement cannot be done by anything that we do. It is done by the creator or the architecture of our lives, who is God. That's why they need that God in their heart. Because this is the only thing that can make their lives to change.
Mm-hmm. Madam Catherine, coming to you. I've mentioned about marijuana being one of the substances used to cure cancer. Now, talking to it as a drug and substance abuse, because you are overusing it and it's making our body being stimulated. Now, is it that it is altered with for it to be used with the cancer patient? Or how do we now say that, like I mentioned, putting Mr. Benjamin on the spotlight now, here I am saying a little wine is good for your digestion. We also say, and it is also proven, that when we take white wine, it's good for your digestion. So is it that when we do it on small portions, it is good for us? And when we overuse it, now it is bad for us? Because we say everything, too much of everything is poison. Is it now that when we're doing it in too much that it is poisonous to our body, and hence now what you're talking about, drug and substance abuse? Or is it also advisable, and how that it's scientifically proven from whatever perspective you're coming in, now we say in small portion is good for our health? Before you answer that, I'd want us to take a short break, and when you come back, I'd want us to take us through that point. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am. Continue interacting with us across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144.